discussion and conclusion. Once again, my hypothesis going into this was that playing different sports for a female athlete will develop musculature differently than that of another sport. With that, I also hypothesized that volleyball had more muscular balance than other sports that were being compared in the study. I believe that my hypothesis was backed up by my results. I believe athletes' muscles are developed differently through the sports that they are playing and can predispose them to a possible ACL injury. The reason I believe volleyball had a better muscular balance when it comes to quadriceps dominance and not landing in a valgus load, they landed more neutral, is because of the repetitive jumping motions that they have to complete every day that our quadriceps and their hamstrings are used to firing at the same rate, more so than a women's soccer player or a women's basketball player. However, if we go back to best scores, which I did not put up on the slide, women's soccer scored a total of 73, and women's basketball scored a total of 75, and that was among 5 athletes total together. Women's volleyball totaled at 88 repositionings, and I believe that this could be because of the amount of cutting that goes on in women's soccer and basketball compared to that of volleyball. And with that, there can be other comparisons made where volleyball jumps, like I said, repeatedly, and soccer not as much unless you're a defender. Multiple factors also go into ACL injuries, so we cannot pick one and say this is the reason for an ACL injury. I mean, women, they're more likely to have an ACL injury in the follicular phase, which is the first 1 through 9 days of their menstrual cycle. They're more likely to be more lax and sustain an injury during that time period. However, there are also other things, like we said, ACL injuries are kind of like the perfect storm. If you have a twist in the knee, the quadriceps dominance, and that joint opens up, and that ACL is exposed, it is very, very easy to injure it. But I believe with this knowledge that cross-training methods can be implemented so that our athletes are more balanced musculaturely, and that way we can hopefully lessen the amount of injuries. And the big thing about ACL injuries is they take so long to rehab. This will keep our athletes playing longer. But I do believe there should be future research done with this. The sample size was pretty small coming from Emory and Henry and the amount of athletes I had. I believe a larger sample size should be looked at. I also believe all female sports should be looked at that have a chance of ACL injuries, such as softball when they're sliding into a base or going around the bases, and other sports of that nature. I also believe there should be a research done on men and women with musculature differences. I also believe quad dominance should be looked at and how it affects landing mechanics. As I stated earlier, we had 2 athletes that were close to the junior verum angles with a Q angle of 12 on both sides. However, they both landed valgusly. I believe this is because when they landed, their quadriceps dominance was pulling their knees in, causing a valgus load upon landing. And also, I believe that there should be a research done on cross-training and how it affects athletes and their ACL injuries.
I'm just curious as to, you mentioned sample size, but why did you just choose 5 people from each team? Why didn't you test the whole team?
Well, we talked about it, and with certain teams being in season and other teams not being in season, it'd be harder to grasp all those athletes at a single time. Beth and I talked about it, and we thought 5 and 5 and 5 would be, 15 would be a good thing to look at.
Volleyball, did you just look at like hitters, back row players, like, or did it matter?
It didn't. We didn't look at like position specific in this research study. We just looked at the athletes in general.
Did they have to have a previous injury, or did it matter?
Just the 3 that we utilized that had a previous injury were the only ones that were supposed to have previous injuries, so they could be compared among the rest. But it was mostly just for, it wasn't really to see ACL injuries and their muscular development, it was to see muscular development as a whole between each sport.
How did you determine your angles?
There was a source that had studied.
What points did you use? Go back one more slide as well.
This one.
Alright. Okay, can you tell me where those angles come from? I mean, what points did you use for that person?
When we go down there, right here's the knee, which is where the point that goes up, and it goes over the femur to the ASIS.
Is the ASIS is your point?
It's supposed to be the knee point, yes. And then it went down to the tuberosity and down to the floor.
Okay. Some of the pictures fill your next ones too. Alright. Did you actually, I'm just having some problems. I can see if you took away those lines, there's a difference in angle. But some of those lines look off to me. Like if you go back to the one before, especially because they're in black, and that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
That one, I don't know that that line is right. I mean,
Well,
I
this
can
one I had
see.
trouble. I also had trouble drawing the lines.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, because if you go to the next one, the one on the left,
This one.
no, before. And maybe it is, if you had to draw the line, that changed it, because you have the widest hips, she could deliver an elephant with hips that big. Because that's not her ASIS.
No.
And I guess that's Millie on the right. I would buy that. Some of these, if you did have to draw it, that would make all the difference in the world.
I had to
Those
put-
points.
If I put one here, and then try to move it over to our ASIS, which should be right around here, it would shoot it over here.
That
My arm.
would make sense. I mean, that takes care of the problem.
So I tried to get as close as possible with lines being normal.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I go closer in and drew the dots and everything for her ASIS and analyze it that way, it'd be harder to see the angles.
If that's the points, I'm okay with that. Matt brought up the point I was thinking too. I would argue that you're going to see more. I mean, what you said about volleyball players are required to jump all the time. Jamie's required to jump because she's a hitter, but you've got some back line people that never jump. You know, at least in basketball, everyone can get a rebound. I don't think. I think that statement, I could argue that statement that basketball players who jump more than volleyball players are, especially if they're not